and gentlemen, tuned in to another edition of the We Are Rising podcast, your source for all things talking about Rizin, Japanese MMA, Japanese combat sports, or whatever we do to just usually shoot the shit around here. The main show Twitter page is at We Are Rising Pod, WeAreRizinPod, all in one word. Our respective Twitter handles at ABinja1 for Andrew, at ChrisGary92 for me, but we'll get to the rest of the plugs. We'll get to the rest of the plugs when we get to them. As right now, joining us all the way out from Poland, I don't know which city specifically in Poland he's from, but still, this man is really changing the game when it comes to Japanese MMA coverage. He's one of the few non-English, non-Japanese, non-Portuguese, or Spanish-speaking JMMA journalists out in Europe. And he would just like to, he's on here just to put himself and not only that, but Polish MMA journalism over. All the way out from Poland, we have Daniel, whose last name I don't want to butcher because, well, Polish people, no disrespect, Daniel, but the Polish people have some crazy pronounced last names. So how do you pronounce your last name again?
Hello everyone, I'm very happy to talk with you and hear you. My last name is Dziubicki. My full name is Daniel Dziubicki. Usually I'm a commentator of combat sports in some Polish TVs, and I'm a MMA journalist and kickboxing journalist also. So we can start, I think.
Okay, I see. And before we even begin, I just want to ask, how did you get involved into mixed martial arts? And, what were your thoughts about Japanese MMA before Rise, before Deep, before all these promotions came about, and before your interest peaked?
Firstly, I've got involved into K1. It was in 2001. It was a broadcast in Polish Eurosport of the finals of K1 World Grand Prix. And I was 12 years old, I think, and couple years later, I've got involved into MMA because of KSW, Konfrontacja Sztuk Walki, martial arts confrontation, for the one reason, I think, because at that time I was starting training Taekwondo, and on the second event of KSW, there was a Taekwondo guy, Łukasz Jurkowski. Now he is still KSW fighter, but he is also a commentator of MMA events, and that's how I got interested into MMA. Later there was a Pride. It was a Pavel Nastulos fight. When I firstly saw Pride, I was shocked about a couple of reasons. One of the reasons was the white ring. I was only a teenager, and I've said to myself, "Damn, the blood is very visible on the mat on the canvas." The second thing that was which was attract my attention, that some fighters is fighting in full gi, such as Yoshida or Kazuhiro Nakamura. And the rules was also an interesting thing, because there was small liberal, but there was a ring, not a cage like in the UFC. I've got very interested into MMA in the last period of Pride. It was New Year's Eve 2006 when the Fedor submitted Mark Hunt. And later, the Pride collapsed, and I started following the Dream promotion and Heroes a bit earlier.
Right. Now, Andrew, do you want to speak a few words?
Well, just in your opinion, right now KSW is like the one avenue of MMA that people know about when it comes to Poland. Is there any other fighters or organizations that you think are good that people should pay attention to, Daniel?
You know what? Yes, KSW is a very solid name on the worldwide MMA market, but you mean the organizations or fighters from Poland?
Yeah, organizations or fighters from Poland that you think people should pay attention to or be on the lookout for in the future, whether they be UFC caliber fighters or Bellator or Rizin or whoever you think is of fighters people should pay attention to, or organizations.
This is only one real competition for KSW. It's called FEN, Fight Exclusive Night. They are not as big as KSW, but they have a TV contract. They have some, aspirations. I think they have a couple of very good fighters. I think some of them are even worldwide level, such as Mateusz Rębecki, guy who fought I don't know several months ago in Korea at the Battlefield event. Also Andrzej Grzebyk, two weights champion of FEN. They have also a kickboxing division with also a couple of interesting names. They have good MMA fighters such as Szymon Dusza. Right now, I think you can remember Szymon Bajor from the Rizin Grand Prix.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that guy?
Yep.
Yes. Now he is fighting for FEN. I think he will get a title shot, heavyweight title shot of FEN. There's lots of talents in Poland, in the whole Polish MMA, because it's popular sport. Clubs are usually full. Lots of people want to do it, and right now we have an effect of the boom for MMA in Poland, basically.
Gotcha. With that being said, Christian, should we do the question first or at the end, or do you want to start the show? I'll let you decide how you want to move on.
Sorry, guys. Can I add something
to
my previous talk? There's also one important thing that Absolute Championship Ahmad is doing lots of businesses in Poland, and they are holding events. I think there's 2 events per year in Poland, and there's mainly Polish fighters who are not in KSW or in FEN, and they have also a couple of promising guys. So it's some kind of rivalry between the KSW, FEN, and ACA. UFC right now don't have any plans for the next event in Poland like two previous.
Gotcha.
I see, but the UFC don't have any plans to do events, at least for the time being. Because quarantine. Is that the same thing happening with KSW and Fight Exclusive Night and Absolute Championship Akamat?
You know what? It's some kind of weird thing because of for example, they had last year they had event in Czech Republic. Czech Republic is a smaller country. Overly, they are smaller in economic sense, but I think that someone from UFC is feeling that they are making a better business in Czech Republic, maybe a smaller market, but better money. I think that KSW's presence in Poland, the Polish leader, is also some kind of obstacle for UFC.
I see. Andrew, can you excuse me for a little bit?
Oh yeah,
I think I'm about to have some interruptions happen.
no
on my
problem,
end.
no problem, no problem. I guess we'll start off with the show, the Deep Impact '94 show, which happened on March 1st, 2020, at Kurikan Hall. 11 MMA bouts, 2 grappling bouts, and Daniel, what did you think of the show overall?
Oh, he came in wearing black clothes.
You know what? I've rewatched this show yesterday and today, and honestly, I'm not very impressed with that whole card. Some very boring. Some very boring bouts, couple of very good names, a couple of upsets, but I think that we will talk about it a little bit later. As usual, show took place in Korakuen Hall, a really special venue because to get into the Korakuen Hall, you have to go into the building and go upstairs by lift into the I don't directly remember, but it was a 5th, 6th, or 7th floor, and then you have a sports hall. So it's crazy, like the whole Japan is crazy.
Yeah, I've been to Kurikan Hall. It is like, I don't know, like what's the comparable venue, but that is the venue that everybody uses when for mixed martial arts, kickboxing, pro wrestling. It is an all encompassing venue for everything.
Basically, say Kurikan Hall is like MS. I mean, it's like Madison Square Garden for Japanese sports.
Yeah,
but please continue.
Yeah, kind of. But the thing is that like Madison Square Garden is just so much bigger. Kurikan Hall is kind of just like, I'm trying to think of like what it's like, just where like it's centrally located in Tokyo, easy to get to by train, taxi, what have you. So that's why everybody uses it. Also, right next to the Tokyo Dome, so that's also why it's right in Tokyo Dome City. But yeah, Kurikan Hall, like Daniel said, Kurikan Hall is a very, very special venue and a very recognizable venue because of their orange seats.
Yes, and it has a very convenient orange seats.
Oh yes, yeah.
I love the venue very much.
I do too. So with that being said, Christian, are you able to start off with the first bout, or would you like me to take over for the time being?
Yeah, you can go ahead and take over for the first couple of bouts. I'm just trying to get myself situated.
No problem.
Go ahead and get the fight card started, dude.
No problem. The first fight was a grappling bout, and the only women's match on the card. It was a grappling bout between Momoka Yoshikawa versus Maya, 108 pounds, and it was under grappling rules, 1 round, 5 minutes. Now, it ended in a draw, even though it shouldn't have. Actually, no contest. No contest. So, I want to. Did you watch this bout, Daniel?
Yes, I've watched this bout. the both grappling bouts from Deep 94 was non-competitive bouts. It was totally exhibition, and that's why there was no winner in the end of each of it. Uh, from what I remember, it was Yoshikawa submitted
Yes.
her opponent by armbar,
Yeah.
but there was, as I said, it was an exhibition. Yoshikawa is from Nagano, and she don't have any profession. She don't has any professional fights. But if you take a look at her amateur record, it was only 3 fights. You will recognize Itsuki Hirata from one championship. It was at the Deep event, from what I remember. But yeah, this is the only recognizable name. Maya, from the other hand, is even less experienced. Only one amateur bout, also a kickboxing bout, and she's training in one of the Palestra clubs. Palestra has their own has its own network in lots of places, and she's from Kashiwa, from Chiba Prefecture, and both of the girls are very young. One girl, I think, Yoshikawa is from 2002, and Maya is from 2003.
Yes, they're both very 1 year difference. Yoshikawa 18, Maya 17. You know what? It was funny because I'm watching this and I see Yoshikawa go get the armbar. I'm like, oh, okay, she's a winner. And then they restart. I'm like, oh, maybe it's the best. Is it best until the number until the end of the round? She submits her again, armbar, and then they start her again, and then the round ends, and then they raise both hands. I'm like, wait, what? Why? And yeah, you're right. It's an exhibition bout. I think that's a. I don't like that. I don't like exhibition bout. Just declare a winner. Just declare a winner. I mean, Yoshikawa basically was a winner, but I mean, record-wise, it goes down as a no contest, which I think is a little bit lame, in my personal opinion. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Daniel.
You know what? In my opinion, maybe no pressure is better for audience, because when there is no pressure, the competitors can test can test lots of things. They don't have a pressure that if they lose or lose position, they can take a risk. Then they can afford to lose dominant position. So from the other hand, the exhibition thing is good for the performance thing. I think it's more interesting. I don't know if you like the competitive grappling, such as BJJ championships or Abu Dhabi combat. But personally, I'm not a fanatic of pure grappling, pure competitive grappling, because for me, it's a bit too, too for too, in, the fanatics can enjoy the Abu Dhabi competition, but not every people, not every human.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of grappling bouts. But I much would prefer a winner and be declared. That's just my personal opinion. But we'll talk about a little bit about the more the higher level grappling battle later. We'll move on to the next match. The first MMA match of the card: Masato Nakamura versus Rikito Tago. Nakamura defeated Tago by unanimous decision, 2 rounds, 10 minutes, 115-pound match. Nakamura is now 3-5, while Tago is now 1-3. And one of the things I've noticed that we'll definitely talk about or notice as the card gets higher is that the competition gets much more heavier, and you see a lot more finishes. With these beginning fighters, you notice that they seem to be very hesitant. They don't have the best records, and I saw that with this Nakamura Tago match. You have any thoughts on this match, Daniel?
Nakamura was better in stand-up when it was at the beginning of both rounds when Nakamura was winning the exchanges. Then Tago went for a takedown and for a successful takedown. On the in the second round, Nakamura, I think he was able to sweep. I don't remember directly, but Nakamura made some kind of Nelson. It was.
Oh yeah. Was it like a full Nelson or half Nelson something?
Yeah, it would be crazy. It would be submission. It would be tap out, but nothing like that took place. But since this Nelson attempt, Nakamura maintained the dominant position, and he was he awarded a win. What also I can tell you about the Nakamura that later he had a fight in the first event of Brawl International in Guam.
Oh wow. Okay. Oh, interesting. Um, and anything you could tell us about his opponent Tago? If you happen to know anything offhand. If you don't, that's fine.
Tago, the only thing that Tago made very good it was the takedowns. He had 2 attempts and 2 successful takedowns.
No, yes, he did. Yes, he did. No,
and the one thing that I want to talk about Tago that he has good amateur results because he has some successes. I think he went very high in shooter all Japan shooter championships in I think it was 2 years ago. But if you are successful in terms of amateur fighting, it doesn't mean that you will be successful in professional fighting. But to be honest, Shuto training system, classes of Shuto fighters. This is a very smart system, I think, and Japanese. That's why Japanese have enormous pool of talent, especially in the lower weight classes.
yes, yeah, you're right. You're right. Let's move on to the next match.
Let's go ahead and move on because I've been hearing everything, and of course, well, I just came back into the fray. Sorry about that. I mean, sorry about my absence, but still, let's go ahead and get going with the rest of this card. The flyweight bout at 125 pounds or 57 kgs, Kazuki Shibuya upped his record to 6-7, defeating Yasutaka Ishigami 8-8 via split decision. Ishigami, 26 years old, from Higashi Yamato, Tokyo, Japan, representing Nexus since Ishigami from Ishigawa from Kyoto, Tokyo, Japan, is, well, actually, Ishigami from, what am I trying to say? Ishigami from Tokyo, Japan is 36 years old. Now, I have to ask, this fight was readily available. This fight, much like all the fights on the card, were readily available as it was shown on the YouTube stream for Deep Fighting Championships. So I have to ask, what were your thoughts on this fight if y'all seen what happened in this fight?
I'll pass it off to you, Daniel.
This is good. This fight is a good example how the judges are scoring the deep, the bouts in deep, because during that 10 minutes of fight, Ishigami was more often in the dominant position on the ground, but from the other hand, Kazuki Shibuya land, has landed some strong punch, and there was a knockdown by this punch, and later he was trying to do something on the ground from his back, and I think that two factors led him to the win in the scorecards.
Yeah, but it was a split decision win. So one judge obviously saw that each of the opponents won. But that's interesting. Again, that's the ununified rules of Japan. If this was a unified rules match, probably Ishigami would have won. Probably that's what I'm
Yeah, I think
guessing.
so.
But yeah, because Japan, I'm assuming the deep does the whole they judge the whole thing, not just round by round, and damage and all that stuff. That's why Shibuya was able to get away with the win. What do you think about Kazuki Shibuya? His record, he can improve his record with two more fights. What's your takeaway about him, Daniel?
Now, this fight slightly showed us that Shibuya is a good rapper, but he has some, lags in his wrestling game. From the other hand, his opponent is training in a very good gym, Wajitsu Keishukai. If you see this name of gym, you also see, Yoshinoka, Akira Shoji, and lots of more, also Kaoluno. So yeah, this is a very good grappling and wrestling MMA gym. So it's also, it's from the other hand not very shocking that Ishigami was better at the wrestling game.
Yeah. No, I agree. Other than that, nothing else really I can think of to say about this match. So Christian, you want to move on to the next match?
Yeah, let's go ahead and move on and move up 10 pounds. As the next fight we're talking about is a bantamweight bout. Kunihisa Sasa defeated Fujito Hashan Hasegawa via decision, unanimous decision after 2 5-minute rounds. Sasha from Niigata, Japan, representing Tribe Tokyo MMA, improved to 5-1. Hasegawa from Nagoya Aichi, Japan, and Next Sports dropped to 15, 14, and 5. Any thoughts about this fight?
Daniel?
I think that was a worst fight of the night because from firstly Sasa dominated more experienced opponents in terms of wrestling, but the whole fight was fence stalling. It was laying and praying when the action took down. Was took down. So not very. I don't have lots of words about this fight. Just typical wrestling match in MMA.
No, I agree. I have nothing really more to say about this as well. It's just so funny that the guy who has the less record, total of 6 fights now, beat the guy who has a fight record total fights of 29 now. I just thought that's an interesting little fact. But yeah, definitely.
But you know what? From the other hand, in Japan, you have a lot of matchmaking like this. You have lots of experienced fighters who are just gatekeepers for the younger and more promising fighters. This time, Sasa won. He's a pupil of the Ryochonan, because the Tribe Tokyo MMA is a Ryochanan's gym, and we'll see what he will do in the future. I have a desire that he can he can fight a bit more spectacular. The one interesting thing about Sasa is that he is Shuto amateur champion of Japan from 2016.
Okay. Oh, interesting. But yeah, this is definitely not the. This was the least exciting fight on the card, in my personal opinion.
Definitely.
A nice pill to go to sleep. If you need to go to sleep, is to put on this fight. Uh, Barring that, Christian, let's move on to the next bout. Let's go up another weight class.
Yes, let's go up another 10 pounds and into the featherweight division, the 145-pound weight class, as Koya Kanda defeated Reiki Endo via decision, unanimous decision after 2 5-minute rounds. Kanda, the native Kashiwa Chiba, Japan, fighting out of Foresta, Kashiwa, improved to 5-2. Endo, the native of Sapporo, Hokkaido, Japan, and Power Dreams Sapporo, 28 years old, drops to 11-6. Thoughts about this fight?
From the young fighters, Kanda is one of the more promising fighters. Kanda had in this fight, Kanda had slightly height and reach advantage. He has quite interesting fighting style, aggressive stand-up, also very good knees. He landed a couple of knees on the body and head of his opponent. But in my opinion, in this bout, as a spectator, I wanted a bit more fireworks. But definitely, Koya Kanda is a guy who I will follow and see if he can bring his game into the another level. But definitely, he is an interesting fighter.
Yeah, so one thing that you'll notice that the fighters at the beginning of the card just don't have the, I guess, the fight IQ or the just that experience of knowing of finishing that fight. So that's why a lot of them, they seem to kind of just be playing it safe. That's at least the impression I got.
From the other hand, Endo has quite good record. Uh, Mainly, he was fighting in Hokkaido, local circuit. But for Kanda, it's a bit maybe it's not big win for him, but he took next step to make his career maybe more bigger, maybe not at this stage. We can't say some things, but yes, I think he's very promising.
Now, before we go on to, well, actually, no. I guess we'll go onto the next fight because it's the last of the. I guess I'll call it the quote prelims, and then I'll ask a question after that. So, Christian, let's move on. Let's go up one more weight class for this very interesting fight that ended in a very weird way.
Yes, let's go up another weight class, another 10 pounds to the lightweight division, 155 pounds. Takuya Kinosuke Okaya. Damn it. Let me do that over again. Takuya Kinosuke Oyama defeated Harry Stallone via disqualification via an illegal kick to the downed opponent by Stallone. 2 minutes, 50 seconds, round number 1. Oyama, the native Muka Toshiki, Japan, fighting out of Infight, Japan, 35 years old, improves 9-7. Harry Stallone, if that is his real name, a Brazilian defect from Japan. Well, actually, a Brazilian defection representing Jorge Macacao Patino's gold team in Kosai Shizuoka, Japan, a subsidiary of the Macacao Gold Team training camp in Houston, Texas, USA, Stallone drops to 0-2, 27 years old. Now, I have to ask about this particular fight, other than what y'all thought of it. I know that Deep has some different rules compared to other MMA promotions. As a matter of fact, their rules borderline on Rizin and the unified rules. So this finish is kind of surprising. I don't know if y'all seen this. I don't know if y'all seen this particular fight or knew what the hell happened. But, do y'all think that, Harry Stallone kind of got confused as to, if soccer kicks, what's going to play a factor to this fight? And, do you think that the rules should be explained more clearly when it comes down to fights such as these?
You know what? I have the same problem as you because they Shigeru Sayaki should, as you said, talk about the rules very, in a sincere way. To be more clear about the rule set, because both to the fighters, especially the foreign fighters, and the fans, because I was very confused to see soccer kicks on the previous events, a couple of previous events, and it was in previous event in at Deep 92, when Tatsuya Mizuno won by disqualification because of illegal grounded knees with Ryo Sakai, and to make a joke. You can make a joke and tell that if you don't know what's the rule set in Deep, you should look into the Harry Stallone's record.
Yeah. So I want to just so I thought that Deep had allowed. I have seen fights where they have allowed kicks and knees to the ground. I am not having. There's no Mandela effect here. I know for a fact I have seen deep fights with that, and just to make sure that I'm not crazy. Harry Stallone, first pro fight, Deep 93. So the show before this one, he lost by soccer kick, which means that he was on the ground. Now, I don't know if for different fights they make different rules, or if it's a case of Rizin. If there's if the fighters if they're allowing elbows in the MMA fight, both fighters have to agree. So it's maybe possible that they do this with knees on the ground or soccer kicks or whatever in Deep. But you know, I don't. I think elbows you can kind of get a. You can elbows is a lot easier to not train for to get used to not doing. For the rules with knees to the ground and soccer kicks, I think especially because since that's like the bit it's they allow them in Deep. There's definitely there's no question about it. I think Daniel's right. Like there's definitely like he had to be confused over the rules. Yeah, that's the only reason. I can't believe that he would have been that stupid to risk losing the fight. There must have been confusion over the rules.
And you know what? In my opinion, it's quite weird mix of rule sets because, for example, in one championship, you have grounded knees. You don't have soccer kicks right now. In Dream, you had almost the same without an elbows. In Sengoku, you had knees, stomps, but no soccer kicks. But here in Deep, it's the most weird and a bit unnatural thing. I know that soccer kicks are also quite natural move when you are fighting, but the knees on the ground are a bit are more natural in my opinion. But overly, I think that Rising rules at full Rising rules at it's the ultimate
Yeah.
thing to be honest.
I guess the other thing that he may have tried to make he may have been trying to do a knee to another part of the body, but then he wound up hitting the head. I don't. That's the only other possibility. I don't think that's likely though. But it's funny because I think that Stallone. Would you say that Stallone was winning up until that exchange, Daniel?
Yeah, could you repeat?
Sorry. Do you think that Stallone was winning the fight up until that exchange?
I think it was too short to judge it.
Yeah. So I guess does in your personal opinion, Daniel, does Stallone get another chance at Deep, or did he basically just screw himself over by this whole DQ thing? I don't know. Like, does Deep, like, if they see a DQ, does it like, yep, no, you DQ'd, you didn't follow the rules, so we're not gonna use you again? Any thoughts?
No thoughts. I think in Japan, it's everything is possible. We will talk about the later fight. I think it was the upset of the night and the style of it, of the finishing of this fight. But you can see the Stallone in the next 3 or 4 fights in Deep as well. So I would not be surprised by it.
Yeah, so I consider these few matches the unofficial prelims just because of the fighters' records and their experience and all that stuff. So I'm just curious to know, Daniel, out of all the fighters who fought in the MMA fights that we discussed so far in the unofficial prelims, I'll call it, was there anybody who stuck out to you as the most impressive?
Definitely, it will be Kanda. Koya Kanda, as I said, he is the most promising fighter in the first part of this deep card. It was not totally impressive performance because there was some cage stalling. There was some boring parts of this fight, but especially his stand-up style is very convincing in my opinion, and his physical conditions. He is tall. He has very good reach. So yeah, this is the Koya Kanda is the most promising fighters from the first part.
And it's actually funny you bring it up. He's 145. So if Rizin needs some 145 fighters, hey, you got Koya Kanda. He's got a good record, 5-2, impressive performance on the deep card. So Rizin, I'll definitely take a look at him. With that, Christian, let's move on to what I consider the first fight of the main card, the first official fight of the main card.
Yes, let's go up now, back down 30 pounds and back up to really the main card of this event. As former amateur boxing standout and the only man to take Tenshin Nasukawa to his limits twice, Yamato Fujita defeated Shikara Shimabukuro via unanimous decision after 2 5-minute rounds. Fujita, who's 27 years old, representative of Reversal Gym Shinjuku Medway in Shibuya, Indo, Tokyo, Japan, improved to 4-3 overall in his bludgeoning MMA career, which in addition to that also includes in his bludgeoning professional combat sports career of 7 MMA fights, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, 3 or 4 kickboxing bouts, because I know he fought for K1 as well.
I think he was also in the that didn't he make it to the finals of that Grand Prix, the kickboxing Grand Prix in Rizin? Was he the one that made it?
Yeah, he did.
Yes, he did.
And then got knocked out by Tenshin Nasukawa.
As far as Shimabukuro goes, Shikara, as of this recording, as of the day of this recording, the 11th of April 2020 at 9:01 p.m. Central Standard Time U.S., he's 39 years old, but now he's 14-16. He's now 14, 16, and 6, representing for MMA in Kita, Tokyo, Japan. Now, as far as Yamato Fujita's MMA career goes, do you think that he'll possibly get that call back from Rizin, or do you think that he should just keep climbing up the ranks?
I think that Fujita should take some wins in deep promotion, but if this will take place, I'm sure that Sakakibara will call him and he will fight in Rising once again.
I hope
because
so. Sorry, go ahead, Daniel.
Okay, you can move. You can say.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying I agree. Because he's a good fighter, especially because he has the lone distinction of taking Tenshin Nasukawa to the to a judge's decision in the main in MMA, and was probably is I think it's fair to say was the impetus for why Tenshin had put his MMA career on postponement. And actually, some people did say he won that match. Some people thought he won that match. And so, yeah, I'm just surprised that Rizin hasn't called him back. I mean, he wasn't that kickboxing tournament, but like not for an MMA match at all. And with, I don't know if it's because he's a 125er. Rizin's 125 division is kind of not there. So I don't know if you would want to go up to 135 potentially, because that seems to be where Rizin seems to be focusing on. So yeah, I hope that Rizin gives him a call back. But I'm sorry. Go ahead, Daniel. Finish your point.
I wanted to say a couple of words about this fight because as we said on the beginning of the talk about this fight. Fujita is a boxer. We know Fujita from the Rizin. He was also fighting in Rise in kickboxing, and I think you wanted to see him striking in this fight as I wanted.
Yeah.
And this is the interesting thing in this fight that Fujita. Was doing majority of this fight lots of wrestling. He shown us how he's evolving as an MMA fighter, and basically he won that fight by his wrestling skills, not by his striking skills. Okay, during the second fight, he shown us that he's a boxer. He reminded us that he has a boxing background because of a couple of his, punches exchanges, and you see that this guy can do boxing, but also this guy beats experienced fighter, experienced gatekeeper, because if you see the record of Shimabukuro, you will see that this guy never fought during 3 rounds. His all fights, 36 fights in his career, are not longer than 10 minutes. 3 times 3 as in Pancras, 2 times 5 as in Deep, and yeah, this is the next. Shimabukuro is the next example of the stable gatekeeper, like Fujito Hasegawa. Just gatekeeper for younger and more promising fighter.
So actually about that, so he's on a 4-fight losing streak, Chikara. He's 39. As Christian said, 14, 16, and 6, 1 no contest. How long do you keep somebody like that as a gatekeeper, Daniel, before it becomes almost like a parody? Almost becomes where it almost will affect, I guess, the drawing power of him being on a fight because no one's gonna take him seriously.
From the other hand, Deep is local promotion, since it's the second tier of promotion, and this is a typical Japanese thing that you have very long cards or long cards of Shuto, Deep, and Pancras cards, and you have a very mixed level of skills, of experience, of records, and this is a normal, totally normal thing. Guys like Shimabukuro or Hasegawa, they are still fighting, and they are losing more and more fights, but yeah, they are, as I said, gatekeepers for guys who has 6, 5, maybe 7 fights. So this is the gatekeepers of fighters at some level. You have also gatekeepers at the higher level, as for example Darren Cruikshank in Rizin. Cruikshank was promoted as a gatekeeper by the promotion, and you have gatekeepers and gatekeepers. Gatekeepers are some local tier, and gatekeepers are some international tier.
Yeah, that's good. No, that's a good point. That's a good point. With that being said, Christian, shall we move on to the next bout, the last of the grappling bouts?
Yes, let's go ahead and go to the second of our 2 grappling bouts for the evening. Makoto Shinryu Takahashi, the interim deep flyweight champion, who was supposed to have faced off and defended his title against Jae Woong Byun, but unfortunately Byun wasn't able to escape the quarantine orders in South Korea. Anyways, Takahashi faced off against deep strawweight world champion Anuo Ochi. And this grappling bout ended in a no contest.
Yeah.
Now, considering the fact that these 2 competitors, who also are Rizin alums, as a matter of fact, Takahashi won his most recent bout in Rizin rules, no less, defeating Yusaku Nakamura via unanimous decision on the Bellator 237 post-limp card. Haruo Ochi, on that same card, got carried around for 3 rounds by Jarrett the Monkey God Brooks after his previous bout with him at Rizin 18 ended in a no contest due to an accidental headbutt. But when it comes down to these 2 fighters' projections, do you think that potentially Deep will line them up with some credible contenders for their respective titles?
After you, Daniel?
If Deep has some quality contenders for their titles?
Yeah, basically what I'm trying to ask. Do you think that Deep would... do you think that for the respective next fights, for Takahashi's next fight and for Ochi's next fight, that Deep will probably give them some credible people to, defend their titles against instead of, having these throwaway bouts like this grappling bout?
I don't know how the situation will look like with Ochi after his loss with Jared Brooks. Personally, I would like to see the third fight between him and Brooks, but on the ring, because I was lucky to attend that Bellator post-limbs. Not everyone had the occasion to see these fights as a whole. Only some highlights and finishes on the Twitter. I don't know. It's available to watch right now internationally or not?
You have to go through some. You have to go through the hoops of Dailymotion and YouTube, Japanese YouTube, to find it. But it is out there. I'll tell you that. And And yeah, the basic, it wasn't the most exciting fight, but listen, Jared Brooks had a plan. That was basically, like Christian said, basically do his best impression of Damian Maya and backpack Ochi for all three
Yeah, yeah.
rounds. Um, but the thing is that if Ochi wants a challenger for his title, Brooks has said that he's not interested in doing strawweight anymore. He said he's done with strawweight. So obviously that leaves out a potential title match between those two in deep, I would presume. So I don't know. So just want to also just say that Makoto Takahashi, he did win with one submission between I think it was a neck crank. I believe that's what I have written down my notes, that it's a neck crank, but I couldn't really tell what type of submission it was. But I mean, he's a 125 champion. I don't know if he can go down to 112. If he does, I think that would obviously be the match to make if possible. But again, he's the 125 champion. He may not be able to cut the weight to get down there. Strawweight's a hard division to find people for. I know it's just there's just not a lot of men in that division. Um,
You know what? It's a bit kind of underground
yeah,
for international audience. Even for us, it's hard to follow the men's strawweight. You know, the most known male strawweight fighter in the history of MMA was Rambasondet, who was Shuto champion. I know that Shuto has this division. They've transferred their champion to the one championship. So yeah, in Asia is of course, obviously much easier
yeah.
to find someone at the high level in male strawweight. But to finish my talk, I wanted to say that I don't know how the situation will look like with Ochi, but I'm pretty sure that Shinryu's next fight will be in Rizin. His fight against Nakamura again on Bellator post limbs was very impressive. His style of stand up, his wrestling skills, also he shown also quite good grappling things. And so I think that the future is that guy because moreover he is only 19. So if you're 19 and you're a local promotion champ, there's your natural step is in Japan is the Rizin, and the Rizin see this, and I think that they will use him more and more in the next events.
Now, one question I have to ask Daniel: we're kind of an anti Shinryu podcast. The reason why is because what we understand that he is a prospect, 19, trains at Palestra Matsudo, one of the top gyms in Japan, has only one loss, but we're not impressed with his win record, which is all entirely decisions. So, what do you think about that type of record where all the wins are decisions, and put in the context of Japanese MMA where it's you're more likely it's not the win that matters, but how you win. I guess you could say it's not. Do you think he's going to have to change up his style to maybe look to finish opponents, or do you think that he has to? Do you think he should? Do you think he'll adapt to that eventually, being young and all that? But or do you think it's best that he continue kind of doing what he does now to build up his record?
You know what? Yes, this 10 decisions scaring lots of people a lot. I know that MMA MMA's part strong part is a database, Sherlock or topology. And if you Google this guy and see his record, yes, you can have not a good impression about him. But it's a good question that if he can improve his style a bit. I saw his fight, and he his fighting style is much better than his numbers. Well, this what I can tell you.
Mm-hmm.
But if he can change something in his style, I'm not sure.
Well, I seen a few of his fights. Yeah, I saw the Bellator one, and I seen a few of his deep fights, and he definitely is a guy who likes to wrestle and take it to the ground, and win that way. And there's nothing wrong with that in theory. We see fighters like Khabib do that. We saw GSP after his injury after the second Max Serra fight rely heavily on wrestling is but especially with the way that I feel that what fans want from JMMA, I think internationally and also in Japan, I feel like it's kind of, and we talk about this all the time, Christian. We know with Miyu Yamamoto, she just needs that finish to show that she's a complete fighter, and so we kind of feel the same way with Shinryu, being that he needs to have that finish or finishes on his record to show, yes, I am a complete MMA fighter. I'm not just this one note type of fighter.
Basically, we're not a big fan of points fighters here on this podcast.
Do you have any thoughts, or do you see similarities between how, like, him and Miyu fight, or anything else before we move on? Any last thoughts?
Last thoughts about this fight?
Yeah, the fight, or
No,
Shinryu's style,
you
or
know
anything
what?
like that.
This is the thing that I wanted to say once again today. Uh, I was saying about it before the first grappling bout because the scrap of Takahashi and Ochi was very fun. Just because it was a simple exhibition, lots of transitions, lots of finishing techniques. It was just fun to watch during these 5 minutes how they are grappled. They can play by this grappling. They can enjoy this grappling, not afraid to to losing a position. They can take a risk. They can trying something else in their grappling game. Then they can test some techniques. That's why it was very fun. 5 minutes. Finally, Ochi got submitted by a rear neck choke, and Shinri was a totally better fighter in this scrap. But the result of this, in my opinion, is not the most important thing. But yeah, it was an exhibition. It's a bit of a disadvantage, but from the other hand, it's some kind of advantage
Mm-hmm.
because no
Gotcha.
pressure.
Gotcha. With that, Christian.
When you have
Sorry.
when you have two skilled guys, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, Chris, let's move on to the next bout. And we'll be seeing a return of one of my favorite fighters in this match.
You mean one of your favorite fighters and not his nagging wife?
We'll ignore the wife because I didn't hear her in the crowd when I was watching the match.
I think he's divorced.
You think he's the worst?
I think so.
Ah.
I'm not sure, but I think it's possible because Yu Abiru is not yelling from the ringside anymore from lots of time.
Well, Christian, we want to get the particulars?
Okay.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and get on to the next bout. 135 pounds, former K1 kickboxer turned mixed martial artist, Kizamon Saiga knocked out this Jack person representing Master Thong's training camp in Thailand via left hook body blow. 1 minute, 22 seconds of round number one. Kizaemon Saiga improves to 4-4 at 31 years, 3 days old as of the recording of this podcast date, April 11th, 2020. Jack is 23 years old and obviously in his first fight. So let's just not talk about him. The less said, the better. As far as Saiga goes, he's 4-4 in mixed martial arts now, but he's been taking a lot of time off for obvious reasons: kickboxing, family, other stuff. Do you think that, seeing the fact that he's now 31 years old, do you think that he'll potentially continue on in his 30s with a mixed martial arts career? Or do you think that we might be seeing the last of Kizaemon Saiga competing in 4-ounce gloves in MMA?
After you, Daniel.
Uh, hmm. It's a good question because Saiga was very good kickboxer during the old K1 and that whole K1 Koshin competition. I think he was even semi-finalist of the K1 Youth Grand Prix. He was well known because of his. I think he was fighting with Hiroya at that time in the semi-final. His karate style, and he had everything to be a big person in the K1. He was also fighting in that 63 kilo Grand Prix, Japanese Grand Prix in 2010, I think. But he transitioned into the MMA. It was, I don't know, it was in 2014 when he was 25. So it's quite good, still good age for transition, but something, I don't know, he seems to be stuck at some point of his career. He had good good time when he was signed with Rizin, but mainly he was losing his fights, and his only win in Rizin is with a guy who had no pro fights. So it's not a good picture of him at the big stage.
I will say this about Saiga. Well, actually, just to let you know, he was supposed to fight in Rizin last year in a kickboxing bout against Kuitaka, but he suffered an eye injury. I believe it was a detached retina. And yeah, while his fights, he's lost all but one of his fights. His fights of Ersan Yamamoto and Shichiro Ito have all been like classic Rizin bouts in my personal opinion. And I would say that probably his fight with Ersan was like the first like best fight that Rizin ever had up until that point. That was the one where they were German suplexing each other. If you remember that from way back when, I think that was still the showing the fights free or something era. It was before the Fight TV era. Um, so I mean, I think the question is whether
But you have to admit, though, Saiga is 1-5 in his Rizin career. I mean, obviously, the only win was against a fighter in Dylan West, who only had 2 fights in the last 3 years. But still, continue with your question.
Oh no, I'm just gonna say, I think I would like to see him continue in MMA, try to give MMA a chance, but it seems like he wants to balance both, and I feel like that's very hard to do. We saw that with Tenshin, where he was doing kickboxing and MMA, and clearly the MMA training was something that he was still not accustomed to, as we saw in the Fujita fight, which we talked about a little bit about before. So I think he should come down to either just staying in kickboxing or MMA. And I don't, his record's 4-4, so it's not under 500 anymore. It's nice, even. I think he should try to try to take a little bit of, I guess, cans in deep, and then if Rizin makes him a good offer, try to take some higher competition, especially because bantamweight, the bantamweight division Rizin is their most stacked division, in my personal opinion, and he could be a part of that. Now, Jack, interesting fella here. No last name, but I want to field this question to anybody who might know the answer. Apparently, he trains with Master Thong. Does anybody know who Master Thong is? I'm assuming it must be a person or team from Thailand. Anybody?
No idea.
I think you said it yourself. It's a team from Thailand. It's a trainer specifically from Thailand.
Okay, that's because I looked them up after the fight, and there's apparently tons of videos of this Master Thong working out at Team Alpha Male and training with Uriah Faber. So apparently your Master Thong is an actual person.
Yep, and not just a synonym. And not just a synonym of old 2000s R&B.
Yes. With that being, I have nothing else to say about the fight. Anything else you want to say about the fight, Daniel?
Yes, because it was short but very interesting fight because Jack dropped Saiga by I think it was left of or right hook. It was right hook, and then he received some punches or elbows, but Jack was not able to keep Saiga on the ground, and then Saiga started to land his hook, his liver shots, and there was a break because of the nut shot.
Yes.
But I'm not convinced that it was a groin shot. I think that Jack had maybe he has has his problems with liver. Mm-hmm. And after the break, it was a pure shot to the liver. There was no discussion about the clean shots, and Saiga ended it in a spectacular fashion.
Gotcha. Well, so do we see? What do you think? Do we see Jack again in MMA, or no? Stick to Muay Thai, presumably.
It was fans prep. It was short, but lots of fireworks. Why not?
I'll say, just please get a last name, because when you're trying to look up somebody who's fighter named Jack, it's very hard to find somebody just going by their first name. So,
it does nothing for the imagination.
At least go by your team name. Go by Jack Master Thong or whatever, because at least make it easier for me. But yeah, Christian, let's move on to the next match.
Yes, we stay in the bantamweight division, the 135-pound weight class, as Kosuke Colo Colo Teleshima defeated Plixada Dream Man Kong Chai via tap out due to strikes, punches, 4 minutes 11 seconds of round number 2. Colo Colo improves to 16, 15, and 5, representing Waijushu Keshu Kaiti Live in Tokyo, Japan. Plixada, a veteran of five 1FC fights. He's now 7-5 overall, and this is his first fight away from 1FC since 2016, when he had that little 3-fight winning streak going on in the Full Metal Dojo. But as far as Colo Colo goes, any thoughts about him?
Well, as far as after you, Daniel, sorry.
Do you think that there will be potentially more ex-1FC fighters coming into other promotions around the world and looking to prove that they're still worth it, just without the stench of Chat Resit Yard Tom? Because we all know that one FC can ruin a man real quick.
You know, the one is a big platform for Asian fighters. They are holding lots of events, and they don't have a space for everyone. It's clear that there will be, some kind of I don't want to say rejects, but former fighters such as Kritsada. Kritsada is a interesting um, example of Thai fighter because he is fighting in every bout in Thai shorts, but his background is a Greco-Roman wrestling. Of course, he has some Muay Thai experience, but this mix of Muay Thai and Greco-Roman wrestling is some kind of, explosive mix. I was watching also his fights in one, some fights, and not everything, but um, from what I've seen, he seemed to be very strong physically. Of course, he was throwing the guys. He was punching them in the head on the ground, and he was slightly favored because of this experience in this bout with Terashima. Terashima Koro is as I said, the next experienced gatekeeper, maybe definitely a level higher than the previous two, Shimabukuro and Hasegawa. Hasegawa he is even two levels lower than Koro, but still, Kritsada started this fight because by his trademark suplex, and I said to myself, oh, this is the very good beginning, but then Kritsada got dominated in a physical way. Terashima seemed to be stronger, and the Japanese guy was doing everything what he wanted to do. He took down the Thai. He had side position, and then he transitioned into the full mount, and this was the most shocking that he landed single elbow and there was a KO.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's some interesting things as well that we can talk about Kritsada. Well, like you said, Christian, when I saw the name, I was like, where have I seen that name before? And yes, this was the fighter who infamously did a suplex during a fight in one championship, and the fight was originally TKO, but then it got ruled a DQ after for whatever reason. That's many reasons.
Yeah, this is the one of the most lame rules in one championship. That illegal suplex was initially scored as a TKO, but
it's the
later
fucking low rule set. And to be quite honest, and I'm sorry for those with timid ears for hearing me curse, but still, what the matter is, one FC thinks that not suplexing people is going to help when it comes down to saving the livelihood of fighters, when clearly their star fighters like Angela Lee, for example, get away with shit like that most of the time, suplexing opponents. And to be quite honest, if they need to enforce those rules upon, fighters like Klisada, Dream, and Kong Tree Chai, they need to start enforcing it to all their fighters that you can't get away with shit like that. Now, as far as that rule, particularly, I think that is bullshit because, you can't really I mean, just because you can't suplex somebody doesn't mean that you can't stop anything else from happening in that fight. You can't stop if a soccer kick happens, if a low blow happens, if a headbutt happens. It's just natural, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wanted to say that Kritsada, to resume this whole fight, it was shocking because Kritsada is a really legit fighter who uh, who has almost everything, I think, to be competitive at the deep level. And he got dominated and KO'd by simply a gatekeeper. And that fight with Rabin Catalan, that rematch, was really bullshit because of that suplex thing.
I can assume that he's no longer with one because he had only one more fight with one championship that he won, and he's now with Deep, which is connected with Rizin. So I'm assuming that he's no longer with one. I wouldn't want to be either, especially if I had a win like that taken away from me. It's just funny because like you said, Crusada has a very sorry, Christian.
Come to think of it, we always ask about this. If a fighter is rising worthy, I mean, if this were to continue on for Klitzada, could we potentially see him fight in Rising?
I think it was a plan for. It could be a plan for Kritsada to take a single fight in deep. It was like with Naoki Inoue or Takeya Mizugaki, and if he win, then he would go to the Rising. Something did not work. Totally did not work, as I said two times, and yeah, it was really upset. Really upset. Yeah.
I do think he should get another chance, especially like I just find his entire background just interesting itself. Also, he's fought in multiple weight classes: strawweight, flyweight, bantamweight. I think he even had one fight at featherweight potentially. Not. I mean, he trained in Muay Thai, but the fact that he's Thailand's like a champion Greco-Roman wrestler from Thailand, I don't know. Is that like saying that you're the best bobsledder from Jamaica? I don't know. I just think it's a very interesting background that he has. It's just not the typical Thai fighter background that somebody has, and I think that makes him a very interesting fighter to watch. Unfortunately, yeah, this fight didn't go his way, but I hope he gets another chance in deep, or just another way to get back a win or something, so he can hopefully maybe make his way to Rizin and join their 135 division. Hopefully. Any last thoughts on this match, Daniel?
I think I said everything about it. Really upset and a bit stopper of the career of Kritsada.
Gotcha. Well, I think we all agree. We hope he'll make a comeback in his next match. And with that said, Christian, shall we move up 10 pounds to the next match?
Yes, let's go ahead and do that. And let's talk about this one in general because I think I have a keen interest in talking about this particular winner next.
Mm-hmm.
Kosuke Yokoyama, Crazy B's only American representative based out of Sin City, USA, Las Vegas, Nevada, defeated Daisuke Tatsumi via submission, head and arm choke. 3 minutes, 30 seconds of round number 3. Yokoyama, a native of Las Vegas, 28 years old, is now 13-7 overall with one no contest. Tatsumi, 13-9 overall, age 28, fighting out of Ishinomiya, Aichi, Japan, representing Next Sports. Now, as far as Yokoyama goes, he's 13-7 overall. Obviously, he's a veteran of Pancrase and Deep, but much like another Crazy B fighter in Miyu Yamamoto, he's a points fighter, but he only got 3 finished victories and one controversial no contest due to a low blow. Do you think that for Kyosuke Yokoyama, he just needs to improve on that finishing power, or just keep dominating opponents until they give in? And as far as Tatsumi goes, He's only 28. He's about a month older than Yokoyama. How do you think his career will progress?
You know what? The first thing what I wanted to say about is the American flag with Kyosuke Yokoyama. I think that he is normally living in Japan, but he's born in the USA, and that's why Topology said that he's an American. It's that I think it's that case. I don't know if he's speaking English, but according to his career, I think that Yokoyama is a worse version of Makoto Takahashi. I know that despite of numbers, Takahashi don't have any finishes, but I saw a couple of fights of Yokoyama previous and the last one, and only thing what he's got is his wrestling skills. He can win fights by his wrestling, by but in this fight, the real test for him was the beginning of the second round when Tatsumi pressed him with his punches, and Yokoyama was very, I think he was confused about the exchanges, and he did not want to trade punches. He just wanted to throw a couple of them, but not really got into exchange. Maybe some middle kick, and he quickly went down with Tatsumi, and on the ground, Yokoyama was very dominant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's interesting that we bring up how they're both kind of similar, Shinryu, and oh my god, I'm just having a brain fart.
Shinryu and Yokoyama.
Oh my god, why did I totally forget his name? I'm staring at it like right here. Yokohama.
You just had a brain fart, Andrew.
Yeah.
Come on, let's keep it going.
So actually, also just to let you know, when he's apparently in Las Vegas, he fights at Extreme Couture MMA. Which is, I think that's where Johnny Case also trains out of, and also pro wrestler John Moxley also trains there as well. And of course, I think that was Randy Couture's original. That was the first of his original Extreme Couture schools. I think Yokoyama is an interesting. It was interesting to see him fight and then compare his record to what he normally does. And yeah, he's definitely a points fighter. And even in his, it's funny because he's lost also, I think, mainly to points as well. So he definitely has a game plan, and the game plan is to get those points. And it seems like he's the type, if he sees a finish, he'll attempt it, but he won't try to go for 1%. We always see those fighters who are like, if they get the back, they're gonna try to sink in that rear naked choke, that arm bar, like it's the last thing that they need to do on earth. But it seems like he's very lackadaisical about the submissions if it's not working. Question for you, Daniel. So Rizin has it looks like they want to try to beef up their 145 division. Do you think Yokoyama is worthy of being in the Rizin 145 division?
They have a good relationship with Crazy, very good relationship. So from that point of view, yes, it's possible. If he would not be from Crazy B or another gym which has good relationship with Rizin, I'm not very convinced.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got you. Anything about Tatsumi though? Anything that you wanna? Is there anything else that you want to say about him before we move on?
He was smart to trying to press the Yokoyama in the second round of the beginning, as I said before, but his takedown defense was too weak for the wrestler like Yokoyama.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree. Now, Christian, We're going to move on to the co-main event and the sole title fight. But I also want to say, this was my favorite match of the card. And with that being said, Christian, take it away.
Yes, we go to the co-main event now, the welterweight title fight. The only fight that was not only over 155 pounds on this card, but the only fight that was a title fight. As Ryuichi no Sumimura, who we last seen get knocked the fuck out by John Tuck in Rizin Rules at Bellator 237 on the post defeating one-time deep welterweight champion and fellow Rizin Rules alum, Yuta Andre Watanabe, via unanimous decision, as all 5 of the judges, not 3, 5, scored the fight 29-28 in Sumimura's second title defense. Sumimura, a native of Kobe, Hyogo, Japan, representing Trinity Sons, improved his record to 15-8 overall, 34 years old. Yuta Andre Watanabe, who fought one time in Rizin at the Rizin FF1 event, being made into a highlight reel by Hisaki Kato, representing Alliance, fighting out of Minato Nagaoka, he got to Japan, drops to 22-10-4. Now, as far as the upper weight classes, the welterweight division in deep, do you think it would be best for fighters like Sumimura and Watanabe to just go back to Rizin or back into Rizin Rules and just compete there instead? Because there's really, I don't want to say there's nothing in deep for them, even though Sumimura's the champion and just retained the title on his second defense. But do you think that Rizin would be better suited to have these two rather than these? What I'm trying to ask.
I had some thoughts about the welterweights in Rizin and welterweights in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
I think, in my opinion, that the welterweight is the least weight category that the Japanese promotions can promote with quite good fighters. But if we compare the level of 77 or 170 pounds kilo or pounds weight class.
7 kilos, 170 pounds.
That limit. If we compare it with bantamweight, flyweight, featherweight, even lightweight, but maybe it's not a perfect example. The welterweight, it's not impressive in Japan. The second thing is that during the end-year period, Rizin bring the couple of quite good or even very good fighters from welterweight, as John Tak, as Shinsho Anzai. I know that he was in the Bellator part, but everything right now is possible. Quite lots of welterweight fights during that two events of New Year's Eve, and I was thinking about possible Grand Prix in the 2020, but right now. I'm not sure about it. Maybe Sumimura will be back in Rizin because he is a deep champ. Deep is very close with Rizin, and Sumimura is. I think he is a entertaining fighter because maybe with a lack of punching power, but his boxing is on a relatively good level. He has some lots of lacks in defense. What John Tak shown in their scrap in Bellator, but he's still a fighter who I like to fight on a bigger stage. Maybe not for the title. Maybe he won't be poster boy of Rizin. But yeah, Sumimura is always pleasant to watch.
It's just funny. Yeah, we discussed this when we talked about the Bellator show and the Bellator post-lims way back when. Yeah, at least it seems now that the Rizin is trying to at least beef up the 170 division. The division that's totally dead and buried is the middleweight division, because I can't for the life of me think of any fighters that are in Rizin that are middleweight. But what
I can tell you about the middleweight division. That was an idea to send Damian Janikowski. He is a wrestling Olympic medalist from KSW to Rizin, but the response from Japanese was that they don't have an opponent for Damian in the middleweight. So the topic was that. That's
interesting.
This tells you everything about the state of middleweight in Rizin.
Oh yeah, but I'll also just say middleweight in Japan in general. It's like those the middleweights seem to just be just don't have a lot of competition in them. But at least it seems like Rizin is trying to go in the direction of trying to get more 170 people. We saw with the Marcos de Souza fight. But the question is now, Marco said that he's retiring from MMA competition, I believe, and I don't think he'll want to bring Falco Neto back. So, I mean, the only people who Rizin really would have to depend on, other than Bellator people, would be Sumimura and Keitaro. There's really you could I don't know unless
Keitaro.
Yeah, unless like you have fighters like Darren Cruikshank or Yachi or Brown move up, you really don't have a lot of fighters to compete at 170. You're gonna have to be getting those Bellator guys, and I'm gonna tell you the truth. If you do a Rizin Grand Prix at 170, and you include either I think Lorenz Larkin or MVP in that tournament, I think that it comes down to those two. I just don't think the competition. I think that Sumimura is good, but he's just not at the level of like a Larkin or MVP. Same thing with.
Actually, Andrew, if you put MVP in a Rizin welterweight tournament, he'll sweep through the whole field.
Yeah, well, that's the big question is if he and Larkin ever fight, who will win? That's the big fight that Bellator should try to make. But yeah, question though, what do you think about this fight though? I thought that both fighters brought it inside the cage. I thought Watanabe, even though he lost, he looked good. He was, he had a lot of heart in him. Sumimura looked good as well. I think there was one point where Sumimura got knocked down, and looked like Watanabe could have won it.
Sumimura was totally better than Watanabe in terms of boxing. He was scoring. I liked so much his jab. Lots of jabs was landing, and then when he went a bit more inside, he was landing by his hooks. We saw combos from Sumimura, and instead of keeping this striking thing to punching out the Watanabe, in the second round he tried to take this fight down, take his opponent down, and I don't remember if it was in the second round he got dropped by Watanabe. I think it was a bit the issue of his lack of defense. Mm-hmm. But in the third round, in the third round he lost his back, and he was also got submitted by a rear neck choke by Watanabe. I think it was in third round, but he
Yeah.
in the third round he still wanted to go for the legs of Watanabe. I'm not sure if he wanted to just rest to take a breath because he don't have a cardio for 15 minutes of striking or something like that. But it was weird for me. If you are punching out mainly your opponent, you should just keep it if you see that your opponent can't do the same.
Mm-hmm.
But Sumimura wanted to go for a takedown, and I don't think it was, from my point of view, it was very smart.
Gotcha. Any last thoughts about Watanabe or the fight, Daniel, before we move on?
You know, maybe not about Watanabe, but we were saying about middleweight in Japan. Right now, I'm watching the old Dream and Sengoku events, and there was at the initial year of Dream and Sengoku in 2008, it was two parallel Grand Prix in middleweight, and you can see how much the whole Japanese fight scene changed in this 10 years. Right now, you don't have very much middleweight action in Japan.
Oh yes, no, that's a good point. That's a good point. Just like how the landscape of weight divisions has changed in MMA and in kickboxing in Japan. If you want to point to K1, how they like there's virtually like no heavyweight fights when it used to be a heavyweight promotion. It's just funny how things change like that. With that being said, Christian, let's move on to the main event.
Yes, let's go ahead and go on to the main event, a bantamweight contest, as two former deep bantamweight champions collided in a matchup that could either possibly get them a potential opportunity to face Victor Henry again, or could potentially move them back into Rizin. Yuki Motoya defeated Takafumi Otsuka via unanimous decision. All three judges scored the fight 30-27 Montoya. Montoya improves to 24-8. Well, actually, Montoya, 30 years old, from Nagoya, Aichi, Japan, by way of Kaga Ishikawa, Japan, improves to 24-8 with one no contest. Otsuka, 33 years old, from Ichikawa, Chiba, Japan, representing T-Group Tokyo, drops to 27-17 and won with one no contest. Now, I mentioned the fact that they both fought Victor Henry and lost. In the case of Yuki Motoya, he lost to Victor Henry for the bantamweight title of Deep via unanimous decision last March. In the case of Otsuka, he got knocked out by Victor Henry via right front kick to the body at Deep 85th Impact back in August of 2018. And as far as their respective Rizin careers go, Montoya is 3-3 with one no contest. Obviously, that one no contest coming on the first Rizin event against Felipe Efrain. But since that one no contest, he's gone on a 2-fight losing streak in Rizin, losing to Hiromasa Ogikubo and Patrick No Love Mix. That latter fight, the mixed fight, was on New Year's Eve. For Otsuka, he hasn't fought in Rizin since New Year's Eve 2017 when he lost in the Bantamweight Grand Prix Tournament semifinals to Shintaro Ishiwatari. So I just have to ask, out of these two fighters, Yuki Motoya and Takafumi Otsuka, which do you think would be better for them? A chance at facing off against Victor Henry again? Or a chance to go back into Rizin?
I don't know how to start, but Otsuka is a really, a piece of modern history of Japanese MMA. He was in the Grand Prix of Dream, and later he was multiple Deep champ, and then he was representing Deep in the bantamweight tournament. He submitted Halit Taha after the very unexpected way. But right now this fight for him was a bit like a sign that he will stick with Deep. Not he won't move to the bigger stage. But I think from the other hand, Motoya's next fight will be probably in Rizin. Maybe there will be a rematch with Victor Henry in Rizin ring, because definitely this fight will happen and should happen in the nearest future.
What an interesting. You brought up a good point. Utsuka is a modern he is like a living piece of MMA history, not just JMA. Started in 2006 with Mars Bodog Fight 1 as his first fight. He's lost his first two fights, and here, just listen to this. He fought Rafael dos Anjos in 2008, Connie Hara after that. He also fought Bibiano Fernandez. I can't believe this. The Kazuyuki Miyata, Kenji Osaka. What an incredible career that this guy has had. And here's the thing: he's only 33. He's still relatively young by MMA standards. I'm sure he has a lot of miles on him, but the fact that he's 33 and he's been through all this. I mean, that is he's like you said, he's a living piece of MMA and JMA history. I'm disappointed we have not seen him in Rizin since he lost in the Rizin Grand Prix semifinals to Ishiwatari. I thought he put up a good fight with Ishiwatari, but obviously he lost, and I don't know why he was. I don't know if there's a reason he was not invited back, or that was on Rise's part or his part or whatever. Disappointed that I hope he gets another chance in Rizin again. As for Montoya, it's he thinks that he won that Victor Henry fight in Deep. So I wouldn't be surprised if he'd want to fight Henry again, try to get that win back. But then also, listen, with Manel Cape leaving Rizin and vacating the title, that Rizin bantamweight division is up for grabs now. The title's up for grabs, and Yuki Montoya, is probably one of their top five bantamweights in their division. If you ignore if he had a very close fight with Ogi Kubo, and then he lost to Mix by submission in the first round. But other than that, he is a top five fighter in Rizin, and one of the most underrated bantamweights in the world. It's a tough decision, but if I were him, I would say forget the Victor Henry fight. Let me focus on the Rizin bantamweight division, just because now of Manel Cape leaving and vacating it, that it's up for grabs now. The division is a much more, I think. There's much. If you get a title in Rizin, I think that's worth a lot more than the deep bantamweight title. Any thoughts on that, Daniel? Agree, disagree, neutral?
Otsuka is a kind of a guy who is not very effective in his fight style, but he is just floating between the local tire and the main tire. He's through the years he is a top deep fighter in different weight classes. He's still in the good form, good shape, and from the time to time he is advancing to the bigger stage right now, I think this is the period in his career when he will fight in uh, in deep. But maybe if there will be good opponent for him, Rizin, I'm sure that he will fight in Rizin. Sure, but maybe not in his next fight. Maybe I think he will return to the Rizin this year, but maybe not in the very next fight.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to also say about the fight. Montoya basically dominated all three rounds. Otsuka had really nothing to answer for with Montoya, and that's just I think that's not saying that Otsuka's bad. Just that's how good Montoya is as a fighter.
I think that Montoya has his own fight style.
Mm-hmm.
We all know that Montoya is a top grappler. He is magic. He's pure magic on the ground. From his back, he can go from the technique to technique. How he showed showed this skill with I don't remember with guy from Brazil. It was not versus Philip Frein. I have to even check. Alan Nascimento. I don't have to
Alan
check.
Pure Ultra Nascimento.
Yes. That was this fight when he from his back he made three finishing techniques. It was very very slightly from the technique to technique, but from the for some from the some period of time, Motoya was doing more and more striking, and he's still very good to watch. He is entertaining, but his striking style and striking skills is is about his speed and mobility and his jump to the opponent, throwing some punches, and then avoiding the counterattack. That's what he shown against Otsuka. He decided not to go into the full war mode as in the recent in his last fights, but to fight more smart. I have some associates when I see the Motoya. I have associates with Hideo Tokoro. Very entertaining ground fighter, but also lots of entertainment in terms of his stand-up.
That's a great comparison. Sorry to interrupt you, Daniel, but that was a great comparison. Yeah, continue on.
Yeah. I think that's all.
Okay, great. So that is the Deep 94 Impact card. Daniel, I want to give it to you. Did you have a fight of the night? Favorite finish of the night? Fight of the night? Who would you give such accolades to?
I have to just rewind, but definitely finish of the night. It was Kizamon Saiga because when you see the finish by the liver shot in 4 ounces gloves, your liver hurts. Mm-hmm. So it's always very effective style. But the fight of the night, I would stick between main event and co-main event.
Gotcha. Not bad choice at all. Not bad choice at all. We do have one question though, not related to Deep, but the Deep Jewels.
Actually, we have two questions.
Sorry, two.
These come from an account called Takubo at JP_WMMA. And both of these questions are pertaining to Deep Jewels, not Deep Fighting Championship. First
Uh,
off, what do you guys? I mean, I don't know if this person is a he or she, but this person asked in the first of his questions, "What do you guys think of King Raina, and what do you think that she expects from her professional MMA career? She is the most lovable donut, but still a donut. Is she gonna wind up in Joshi Pure Wrestle or women's professional wrestling?" And another question that this person asks is, who do you think will probably win a fight between Hikaru Aono and Tomo Maisawa? Who's our pick and why not Hikaru?
First, some explanation from myself. Takubo-san is a guy from Poland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is the most funniest thing. But if you were, if I have to answer on the questions, the first one was the comparison. Yes, the Hikaru Aono and Tomo Maezawa.
Yes, after you, Daniel.
You know, Aono is more like a physical fighter, and she's very strong fighter. But in my opinion, what I've seen in her fight, she's still some kind of an old school ground and pound fighter, and just to take her opponents down and punch them into the ground. Tomo is a more, flexible fighter in terms of style. I know she was smoked. She was smoked in the fight with Saoki Han, but Handerlei is number one fighter in the world in atomweight. So it's not very it's not a shame for her to lose with the number one. But Maezawa has some fight when she was very good in the because of her striking, but also she had the fights when he won because her ground skills and wrestling. And I think that Tomo is a more experienced fighter. It's the first thing, and the second thing, she's more well-rounded than Aono.
What do you think, Christian, between these two?
To be honest, I wouldn't know the difference because I don't really know much about Hikaru Ono compared to Tomo Maizawa and vice versa, but still, I just think that Tomo's the better fighter between the two. Wouldn't you agree?
Uh, hmm. I don't know. I feel like it's funny because Tomo myself may be the better MMA fighter, I think, but uh, Alona or Hikaru, I mean, she's an up and coming. I think she's definitely a blossoming MMA fighter, but I think Daniel said it best that she's a ground. She's a person who's kind of who that her background is in grappling. So that's kind of how she fights, and it's a tough. I think if you held a gun to my head right now, if the fight between the two of them was next week, or whatever, I think I'm gonna have to probably side with Hikaru Ono. I think she would wind up submitting Meisawa in a match. I could Meisawa wind up knocking out Hikaru? Probably, but based on what I've seen between the two, I think I have to go with Hikaru Aono at this point. And who knows, hopefully they'll have a fight at some point, and we can see that fight. Daniel, second question about King Reina.
Uh, it's It's very interesting question because I had a lot of thoughts about the King Reina and her her role in the Rising in as an athlete, about her career, and you know there is some different uh, ways and periods in her career. Firstly, I was thinking that King Reina will be the next, some kind of Minoa Man in Dream. When Minoa was fighting with the opponents who was much bigger than him, and the first fights of King Reina was almost the same. She was fighting with much bigger women, and mainly she was beating the shit out them, especially in her debut with Jesse Gabbard, I think it was, and it was very convincing and it was very entertaining. My first thing was that she will challenge in the future Gabi Garcia. Nothing like this happened, but the next thing was that Rizin will do an open weight Grand Prix for women. Also, nothing like that happened. But after that, craziness of women open weight, she started to compete in the 70 kilo limit, and that was my second thought, that the Rizin can promote her, and in future they will hold 70 kilo Grand Prix for women, because at that time, now not any promotion had that limit for women in the roster. PFL last year started their 70 kilo lightweight division for female division, but at that time I was pretty sure that they will do this thing with the headliner of with the King Reina as their poster girl. I was talking with Bruno Massami after her loss with Cindy Dandois in 2017, and he said to me that King Reina needs to drop some kilos and start to fighting in featherweight. But we all know how it looked like about her performance in featherweight in Rizin. It's totally different when you are fighting with international opponents in Rizin than you are facing the Japanese girls in the jewels.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good point. I thought they were gonna. That's what the fight that they were leading up to was. They were gonna build up King Reina versus Gabby Garcia eventually. Obviously, that didn't happen because Reina suffered all those losses to Dandois, Edgar, and Caitlin Young. So obviously that didn't work out. But we did. Did you see that happen? To see the Deep Jewels match that she was in recently, Daniel?
I don't know if this is the same match that I'm thinking about.
The one where she fought the Thai fighter. I think it was last month, or actually I should say last month. It was in February. The last Deep Jewels fight, Deep Jewels 28.
It was. Oh yeah, I remember that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was very quick and not. very quick and brutal action in the shortcut.
And yeah, but and one of the things we talked about because we had Mark Q from WombatNews.com talking about that fight, and looked like Reina had improved immensely on the stand up, which was always one of the things that was it was that, and also being taken down was her biggest faults. Um, I think, and she also has lost a tremendous amount of weight. I think she was around 185, perhaps, maybe 190 when she started to rise, and she's about 150, 145, somewhere along those lines. Um, Whether you bring her back to Ryzen, I mean, that's the issues that Ryzen has of hers, because every time they bring her on, she just seems to lose in very, I don't want to say stupid ways, but in ways that she shouldn't be losing. They put her up against Stephanie Edgar, who I think was maybe 2-0 at the time, maybe as an MMA fighter, maybe 1-0, and got dominated by her. Kayla Young dominated her on the stand up. Cindy Dandois was able to negate all of her of most of Reina's grappling. So it's Reina isn't it. I want to say they give her another chance, but the problem is that who you put her up against? Who is there anybody who? Do you have any fighter who you would put Reina up against in Ryzen who's a high level competition to see if she has improved as a fighter, and that's somebody they would want to keep on the roster?
Uh, at this point, I don't have really an idea for the opponent of her for her because, as you said previously, when they've bring her into the Rising, she was losing, and I have a conclusion about her career that she was the most successful in the open weight with much bigger opponents.
Mm-hmm.
Moreover, I really love her stage image with crown, teddy bear, and big chupa chups. And I think that from the marketing point of view, with the rising productions value, this is a good mix. But this is the stage of her career that she got stuck a bit. I don't. I'm not sure what she wanted to do with her career, but from the marketing thing, she's a good improvement for Rising.
So I also want to bring the second point of our Polish friend who submitted the question about going into pure wrestling, going to Joshi. I think she would make a killing in Joshi. I think she would stand out from every other Joshi pro wrestler just because of her. She's already got the gimmick down with the King's Crown, a teddy bear. She's got the personality for it. She would be great in Joshi, in my personal opinion, if she ever were to transition to that. What do you think about that, Daniel? You think she could ever make a career in professional wrestling?
I think, as you said, with her image, it would help her in the puro wrestle career. But I'm not that interested in pro wrestling. But I think she has a lot of potential, especially that when you consider that majority of pro wrestling players in Japan has the real fighting background, martial arts, judo, wrestling, stuff like this, and Reina has it because she was an elite judo fighter.
Hmm.
Then she got transitioned to MMA, and yes, I think if there will be still, some kind of stuck in her career, I think that the pro wrestling will be some kind of solution for
Hmm.
her problems.
What do you think,
Could be, but I'm not sure that if it will be.
Christian? What do you think? Do you think she could make a successful transition to Joshi pro wrestling if she chose to do so?
If she has the heart for it. I mean, yeah, we already know that when it comes down to most of her MMA career, she acts like she doesn't really give a damn, and that's obviously true because of her rising record. But still, I think that non-charismatic, non-caring attitude would make her feel more like a female version of Tetsuya Naito,
Mm.
Lady Ingo Renable, so to speak.
Interesting, interesting. That's a good point. You know, she kind of has that Naito attitude. Now that I think about it. Um, but with that being said, we've covered everything that we wanted to cover today. Daniel, anything in JMMA or Polish MMA that you wanna just I don't know throw out there that we didn't bring up or anything? I want to give you an opportunity to talk about that or discuss it.
I think that was all. I've made some introduction with Polish MMA. Maybe I I hope that the KSW will renew their cooperation with Rizin and send to the next potential Grand Prix someone, and there won't be a fighter that they don't have an idea for, or they don't want anymore in the roster, like it was with Goran Relic in the first Grand Prix in 100 kilo weight class. You know, there's if Rising would do this big bantamweight Grand Prix as it was, gossiping in the beginning of the year. I think it would be a very good solution for one of their bantamweight fighters to make some better and harder competition than in Europe. Definitely, the place for the bantamweights is in Asia.
Gotcha. And with that being said, I also want to give an opportunity for you to plug all of your social media, anything that you are covering as a journalist, anything else that you want to give a shout out to as well. Floor is yours.
Thank you very much.
Oh, anything you want to plug? You want to plug your social media or anything that you're covering as a journalist?
Could you repeat?
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry. Do you want to cover? Do you want to give out your social media?
Basically, what he's trying to ask is, do you have any social media to
Yes,
plug?
yes.
Have any fighters to plug over?
I think I don't have any, any ideas at this point. I don't know right now.
You want to
I mean, you can go ahead and plug your social media if you want. That's the reason why this is the end of the show.
Okay. Sorry. It's very late in Poland right now. It's 5:29 a.m. So I can not work properly. My head not work properly. Social media. Follow me on the Twitter. Dziubicki. You will. I think you will find me. I think you will make FF for me. So I think that it's everything. Almost every thing what I'm which I'm doing about JMMAs in Polish, but I'm tweeting mainly in English about JMMA. There's also other topics, but mainly in Polish. But overly, my Twitter account is 60% to English. I think so.
Great. And Christian, you want to give out the rest of the plugs?
Might as well. If you want to check out, I mean, as I said beforehand when we started the show, if you want to check myself and Andrew out personally on our respective Twitters, our Twitter handles are at ChrisGary92 and at ABenja1. ChrisGary92, ABenja1.
So
And
I can spell myself.
yeah.
DZIUBICKI.
Okay, cool, cool. And as far as the show Twitter handle goes, we are Rising Pod, WeareRizinPod, all in one word. We try to do everything we can to put over Japanese MMA. And, as much as we love Japanese MMA, we tend to shoot the shit a lot, but we still do our best to make sure that this little niche sport of ours gets covered.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
And as far as the rest of the plugs go, Focus Fights. We cover prospects from all over the fight world, the scenes of 6 of the 7 continents around the world. The fight action will be emphasized. Currently, the Twitter account at Focus Fights is being under some weird Snoopy shit, I guess. But please do support it when we get that thing up and running or when we make another Twitter account. Other than that, you can check us out. You can check that particular account out on Facebook and Instagram at Focus Fights, or search for them via YouTube or Google through Focus Fights. Using Focus Fights in parentheses, of course. As far as the rest of the plugs go, MMA Opinion, the best damn fight blog on Facebook. I'm getting my words twisted because I don't want to run too much time. But check out the MMA Opinion on Facebook, facebook.com/the Opinion. If you want to check out more about Deep Fighting Championship and all the events they have, they are on Facebook, facebook.com/Deep Fighting Championships. They are on Twitter at Deep_official. And they are on YouTube, youtube.com/user/Deep2001TV. And their website. Their website is deep2001.com. Also, if you want to check out this podcast, feel free to check us out and listen to us on YouTube, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and hopefully soon. And I keep beating this over your head, Andrew Benjamin, but I want to get this podcast onto any and all podcast providers.
Of
Do you
course.
think you can help me out with Podbean?
I think I can. Well, we'll discuss it later.
Okay. But aside from that, we are about to go ahead and get up out of here. And considering the fact that this is, as of this recording, we hope that y'all are, we hope that you, the fans who listen to us, who support us, who back up Japanese MMA every time we do a show like this, or every time you see one of us post anything about Japanese MMA. We thank y'all for listening. We thank y'all sharing, liking, tweeting, writing, whatever. But we also want to wish y'all, obviously, with this being April 11th, as of this recording, a happy Easter, a happy Passover, a happy whatever it is you celebrate on this, the second Sunday in April. And, we hope that y'all are enjoying yourselves while going through this quarantine hell. But still, it's been fun talking with y'all. Hopefully, we'll be pulling out more of these shows soon. And, it's been fun talking with you, Daniel. I hope we get a chance to talk to you more soon. And I hope that, with this pretty much introduction to Polish MMA journalism, I hope that we can get more fans, more like-minded European fight fans like yourself, to be a part of this podcast soon enough. Even some from Poland.
Thank you very much for inviting me here. It was a pleasure to talk with you guys. If you have any questions about Polish MMA, Polish fight market, don't hesitate. I will answer for every question as I can. So stay healthy and happy Easter for me, and once again, stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. And as we always like to close the show out, the great and legendary Lenny Hart, who's celebrating her 20th anniversary in combat sports this year, has one thing that she always likes to say. And with that, we're out this mug. It's been fun, but we gotta go. We'll talk to y'all later.